Permiti in downtown Cape Girardeau. Welcome to Focus on Southeast, a program on issues, events, and people impacting Southeast Missouri State University and the broader community. I'm Dan Woods with KRCU Public Radio. Coming up on today's show, we'll be talking with Dr. Stephen Schultheis. He's Vice President of Enrollment Management and Student Success at SEMO. He will share an enrollment update with us and what strategies are being employed to attract new students to the university. But first, we're joined by Jakob Pallesen. He is Director of the Small Business Development Center here at SEMO. Jacob, welcome back to the program. Good to see you.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so for folks who may not know, talk a little bit about the Small Business Development Center for folks.
Absolutely. So I'm the director of the SBDC, or Small Business Development Center, and we're essentially a statewide program. But down here in the Southeast, our center covers 19 counties of Southeast Missouri,
which was amazing to me. That's a lot that's a lot of territory to cover.
It's a big area, and I know the distance and the time it takes to get to every community because we're out there on the road a lot.
Probably know it by heart.
Yeah. No, in a nutshell, what we do with SBDC is we provide business coaching and resources to small business owners. Okay. And we do that through a lot of sort of strategic planning, business planning, assistance with forecasting, and sometimes just sitting down and talking about, hey, what's going on in your business, where you're at, where you're going, and how are you going to get there. So that's what we do on a day-to-day basis.
And I know it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot to do. Let's talk about some of the things that happen. One of the things you told me about was business growth workshops. That's a big initiative. Talk about that a little bit and what that entails.
Absolutely. So we've always done a lot of workshops. The day-to-day is one-on-one with clients and business owners, but we also love doing workshops in our communities to engage with groups and make sure that we bring something to them where we can discuss things in a different format. So for the last 2 years, I've sort of picked a week every year where I go out and I do 3 workshops in one day in a community, and so we typically stack those like 3 to 4 days in a row. So it's pretty intense. So this year we're going to align it with National Small Business Week, so the first week in May. So we're going to go to Perryville, Sykeston, and Poplar Bluff. And in each of those communities, we're going to do 3 workshops in those days, each day. So we're going to tackle things like strategic planning, what we call creating your brand experience, developing a marketing game plan, and then we're also going to have one where we look at funding for business growth.
Whenever you do these workshops, what are some of the most common questions that you hear from small business owners or entrepreneurs?
That's a good question.
Is there any things that pop up to the surface a lot?
So obviously it depends a lot on the particular workshop that we do, but I'd say a lot of it is, the businesses that we engage with, they want to know how to implement and utilize the information. So we spend a lot of time not talking too theoretical or abstract, but really try to be extremely practical and give them resources and tools and make sure that they can literally walk out of a workshop and go and utilize this, whatever the topic is. Like the goal is for them to go and, whether it's understanding how to apply for funding, or it's developing a business plan, or it's doing market research, or it's putting together a marketing plan, like we want them to have the resources to go and actually implement. Because those are the questions that we get to, like, how do I do this?
Yeah. So if somebody comes to you with a business plan, they've done some work and they've done some research, they've sort of scoped it out, will you go through that plan with them and say, okay, let's work on this and improve, make tweaks to it? Do you do that type of stuff too?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing I always ask is, what's the purpose of your business plan? Like, what are you going to use it for? Is it internally to make a game plan for yourself, or is it more external as a sales document? Maybe you're going for funding or an investor. So that's always my first thing is, what's the application of it? And then, we'll sit down and we'll work through it, we'll review it, we'll provide feedback and input. I always tell my clients, I can't write your business plan for you because I can't run your business for you, but we can help you, put it together, make sure you have some good insight, good perspective on that game plan.
Do you ever have to, I probably shouldn't ask this, but do you ever have to tell somebody, okay, they got this idea and they're so passionate about it, and you're like, this probably isn't going to work? I mean, do you have to ever burst bubbles? Or do you try to just
we get that question a lot, and some people, outright ask us, like, do you think this is a good idea, Jacob? And I was like, that's actually not my position to judge, because a lot of times I don't necessarily know if the idea itself is good, That's a question of the customers and the execution, and there's a lot of factors that go into it. So rarely is there a clear, good or bad. What we try to focus on is more like, does it make sense? And are you approaching this in the best way possible? And what's going to make sense for you personally? And that's something that we spend a lot more time on. It's not really is the idea itself good, but you know, are you in the right position? Do you have the right experience? Does this make sense for you? And also, if you get into this, are you gonna, like, is this gonna work out well for you?
Yeah.
Whether it succeeds or not, frankly, like, is this the right thing for you to do?
Yeah.
So we focus a lot on those things too, and making sure that they have a good sense of, you know, what am I getting myself into?
So sort of a business counselor role a little bit too in there, right?
That's actually what we're technically called, but I like the term coaching better because counseling sounds, you know, different people have different opinions on
but it
what
sounds
that
like you
means.
really have to help talk through some of these things.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship in Southeast Missouri. What does entrepreneurship activity look like right now here in 2026?
So far, I'd say we've seen, I think, an increase, frankly, in requests and reach outs for assistance. We did add a business counselor on our team 6 months ago, give or take. So maybe that has helped kind of increase a little bit too in terms of the inflow. But we're seeing a lot of activity. We're seeing a lot of interest. It really hasn't, you know, I'd say it really hasn't changed that much from year to year. What changes is typically the types of businesses and types of projects, you know, so, you know, interest rates go up and maybe the bigger projects are a little bit more like, well, I can't really go in and do this big project. But then a lot of individuals will go and explore side gigs or different formats of their business. Maybe they scale it down a little bit if they're starting. We encourage that often, you know, go and see if you can test the idea before you invest too much into it as well. So we're seeing a lot of that. Then I'd say I think we've seen a little bit of an increase in individuals that are looking to buy existing businesses. Because that's a really good way to get into business. You know, instead of trying to start something from scratch, you have to build the whole thing. You know, if there's somebody who wants to get out of their business and it's working okay, that can be a really smart approach.
Southeast by the numbers. When you look at, and I know you probably go over a lot of data. What kind of things are you seeing in Southeast by the numbers?
So we recently launched a new idea that we call Southeast by the Numbers, and it's essentially trying to highlight the data behind the region, right? So economic data, business data, workforce data. We have access to a lot of data tools, and I'm a data nerd, so we love bringing that out there. So think of that as like infographics and overviews of, you know, what are the trends. So the first one we did was focused on small businesses and entrepreneurship, you know, really trying to showcase, you know, what's the business activity, what's the entrepreneurial activity. We know that more than 98% of businesses in Southeast Missouri are effectively small. You know, they have fewer than 100 employees. So the vast majority of individual businesses are really these quite small entities. And that idea came a little bit out of a bigger project that we did in collaboration with SEMO Ready. So we released a Southeast Missouri economic report at the beginning of the year, where we partnered with SEMO Ready to put together a very comprehensive report around, you know, the demographic and economic and business data for the whole region. And we did a very comprehensive survey. So that was a much more in-depth project, right? But these Southeast by the Numbers are more snapshots meant to kind of highlight what's going on.
Well, and I guess, I know we got to go break here in just a second, but when you have that data, so when someone comes to you with an idea or whatever, you can sort of look back at data to say, well, this type of business, you may not share this directly, but you sort of know, here's what things over the past so many years have succeeded. It gives you sort of a picture of the whole area, right?
Absolutely. Oftentimes it's, you know, if they want to start a certain type of business in a specific community, we'll go in and try to provide some perspective on, like, you know, what should you expect here? What have been the trends? Is it a growing or shrinking community? You know, are there customers, frankly, right? So those types of things. And also looking at it from the standpoint of, you know, are there other businesses and what have they done and have they been successful or struggled? And, you know, what does that kind of look like?
Yes, excellent. Well, Jacob, we're out of time. It's good visiting with you. Thanks for being here with us on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk SEMO enrollment with Dr. Stephen Schultheis. This is Focus on Southeast, and we will be right back.
What does it take to stand tall? To let curiosity take root? To let your dreams take flight? You have to be too stubborn to quit, too smart to fail, forged with an iron will, raised on river mud and big dreams. You have to know when to dig in, because the Mississippi is wide, but your ambitions are wider. You have to be fearless, because the only thing to fear is your wasted potential. So go deeper, Carve your path without permission. Turn your grit into greatness. Stand on a community who has your back. This is your small town with big ideas, where hometown pride makes a global footprint. This is where you find your fearless. This is SEMO.
Welcome back to Focus on Southeast. Dr. Stephen Schultheis is our next guest. He is Vice President of Enrollment Management and Student Success here at SEMO. He's here to provide us an enrollment update and other good things happening in his division. Good to see you, Dr. Schultheis.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, since you're new to SEMO fairly, still a few months, new to our program, tell us about yourself and how you came to be here with us.
Sure. I've been in higher education for just about 25 years. Started out in New York, went over to Georgia, and came across a position here at SEMO and saw what it compiled, the area responsibilities, and came and visited and just really came to love the institution and CAPE itself. And since we arrived, my wife and I got here in January. It's been nothing but just exciting and welcoming.
That's great.
I've really enjoyed the hospitality of everybody here, certainly at the school, but then also in the community as well, too.
Well, that's really great. Well, we're glad you're here with us.
Thanks.
So for folks who don't know about your division, Enrollment Management and Student Success, kind of tell us what your division does here at SEMO.
Sure. I like to describe it as that we're responsible for getting students into the institution and then all the way through to getting them graduated. We've got a mix of admissions areas where we're truly recruiting students that might be interested in enrolling, for undergraduate, for high school students, for graduate, and everything in between. But then we also have a number of offices that are responsible for providing the support and the services while they're enrolled at the school.
Okay.
So things like completing financial aid, but also getting students engaged, which is so important. Providing them with the right facilities, the right meal plans, and that they have a great experience while they're with us.
So retention is a big part of your job.
Yes, in fact, when we think about a college's enrollment, the two biggest things to impact are how can we get new students enrolled and how can we make sure that we're keeping students here.
Yeah, big deal. Give us a sort of a picture, I guess, of just the higher ed landscape. I mean, broadly, and then zoom in on here in Southeast Missouri, if you would.
Sure. So broadly, higher education is just in a very interesting place right now.
Okay.
It's become an area of great attention over the last number of years, where institutions are having to pivot to actually come up with their value. Like, why are we really around? How are we making a difference?
Yeah.
How is getting a college degree relevant? And so we've had to really push forward in that arena to continue to show that, yes, a college degree has that earning power consistently for individuals to get it. And so that's been a national point of attention, along with a lot of regulatory changes too. Now we couple that with things like the demographic cliff, which is something that we've known about for well over a decade, where there just aren't as many students that are graduating from high schools that are going to college, and that's really because there just aren't as many people that were born back in the like 2010 era.
Okay.
When we take that down to SEMO, it forces us to really make sure that we're giving our really strong value proposition, and it's a great story for us to tell. We've got a lot going on. Our graduates are doing really well.
Yeah.
We've got experiential learning opportunities, and we are truly supportive and really affordable to students.
And it's pretty competitive now too. I mean, every school's sort of trying to get out there, right, and get their attention of the students and their parents.
Right. Ever since we started to understand the declining birth rate that I mentioned earlier, schools have really gotten extremely competitive.
Yeah.
Where institutions that really got hit across the country are going to areas where they wouldn't have gone to recruit students before. And so we're now not just recruiting against some of the institutions in Missouri, but we've got a lot of out-of-state competitors that are coming into our same region and competing for students.
Yeah.
And so it really does change it quite a bit, where we have to be a lot more proactive in telling our message and really succinct with what that message is. How do we stand out among all those different institutions out there?
And it seems to me that branding and marketing is fed right into that. That has to be so important because everybody's trying to up their game in that way and get the attention.
You're absolutely right. And there's again, that's where SEMO is really well positioned. And this is prior to me even starting. The institution did a great job with launching a brand campaign, the Fearless at SEMO, right? And that's intertwined into a number of different our campaigns. Right. But that's launching the whole website with it, rebranding it. But then all the communications that we have to send out, the presentations that we do, it definitely intermixes extremely significantly.
Yeah. So let's talk about strategies to increase enrollment. There are things that can be done that I know that we are doing and other institutions are doing. Talk through some of the strategies that are being employed to try to attract students to the institution.
There are a few that stand out. One is our scholarship program and making sure that we're really competitive. That's one of the areas that a lot of institutions are leveraging right now is who's got the biggest scholarship, right? Who can make it the most affordable. What's great for us is we're already affordable, just being a state regional institution. We're one of the most affordable in the state, but we have a really strong scholarship program. We recently just announced that we've extended our scholarship program to June 1st, coming up into the fall semester, just to provide that greater opportunity.
Yeah.
So making sure cost is one of those. Another is making sure that we're going into the regions where there's population that we can actually attract. And so we're being strategic with where our recruiters are. We've got a dedicated one in St. Louis to really work on the metropolitan area there. But then also connecting with partnerships. And those could be college access partnerships, so organizations that work on getting students into college from high school. We've got a great relationship with them through our TRIO program. We're having a number of them down this week. We're going up there next week to St. Louis to meet a number of them. But then also, when we think of partnerships, there's a number beyond just traditional high school students. We've got to be able to think about how can we capture all those individuals that started college but never finished. And there's millions across the country. And so we've developed corporate partnerships. So where can we go with big organizations that have large employee bases? Mercy Healthcare System, all over the Midwest. Certainly in our backyard, but all over.
Absolutely.
How can we attract some of them? Magnum, which is down in Sykeston, right? How can we serve their employees and making sure we're providing those education opportunities for them? And so we're looking at where we can get some of the traditional students, but also where can we go out and get the opportunity to serve the non-traditional students too.
A lot of opportunities there.
Yes.
Let's pause for a moment. We're going to take a break here and come back, and we'll continue our conversation with Dr. Schultheis in just a moment. This is Focus on Southeast. We'll be right back.
What does it take to stand tall? To let curiosity take root? To let your dreams take flight? You have to be too stubborn to quit, too smart to fail, forged with an iron will, raised on river mud and big dreams. You have to know when to dig in, because the Mississippi is wide, but your ambitions are wider. You have to be fearless, because the only thing to fear is your wasted potential. So go deeper. Carve your path without permission. Turn your grit into greatness. Stand on a community who has your back. This is your small town with big ideas, where hometown pride makes a global footprint. This is where you find your fearless. This is SEMO.
Welcome back to Focus on Southeast. We're talking with Dr. Stephen Schultheis. He's VP of Enrollment Management and Student Success here at SEMO. I want to dig a little deeper into enrollment and different strategies. Transfer and retention piece. We talked about the retention part of what you do in your division. You get the students here, but we want them to stay, and so there are strategies to do that too. Talk about some of those items.
Sure. When we think about retention and making sure students are staying, there's two major ways that we focus on this. One is make sure they're involved academically. So have they connected with their faculty? Have we heard if students aren't doing well, maybe they're not going to class? How are we keeping them connected to us and making sure that they're successful? The other is, how do we make sure they're involved socially? what clubs, organizations have they participated in, what events have they gone to. And so in order to manage that, we've got a platform that really connects to university. We call it SupportNet.
Okay.
And so it's an area where faculty can submit alerts to advisors. It's an area where we can track if students are meeting with us. We can keep notes on it. And so it's this kind of comprehensive wraparound software that allows us to really make sure we're connecting with the students overall. Now, we've got a fun thing coming up in the fall where we're really working on, we do a lot to get students engaged, and it's kind of in different areas of the university and doing really well with it. But we're putting together a student development curriculum. So while we have things being taught in the classroom around the majors, we want to make sure that we're supporting what's the student going to develop outside of the classroom. And so we've kind of come up with a loose theme right now where if you think about a freshman, we really want them to commit to service. So when they get here, how do they really get engaged with serving others? How do they help each other? But also, how do they help the region?
Yeah.
And so we're going to be putting forth 2 days of service where they're out in the region helping individuals and really getting that notion that it's more than just me. Then in the second year, it's really about exploring. And it's that time we really want them wrapped up in there to know what exact major they're going to be in.
Yeah.
And so how are they really zoning in on that? But also, how do they really know what they need to develop as an individual? The third year is really about preparation. And so this is the year. School's halfway done, right? It goes by quick.
Yeah, it does.
And so they really have to be able to start to prepare themselves with networking opportunities, LinkedIn connections, resume building, so that they can launch themselves in their fourth year and go out there and make sure that they're interviewing and getting their job secured for when they wrap up with us. So we've got some great things going on now.
Yeah.
We've got some things that we're working on to develop coming up in this fall that we're going to launch also.
That does sound really good. Let's spend a little time talking about workforce. Crafting degrees that the business community is looking for, because that's going to help attract more folks to the institution. What kind of items are we working on in that regard?
Sure. So there's some great partnerships that we already have and ones that we're further develop. And so one is our Educator Advantage program. And so there's a significant teacher shortage across the country. And Missouri is no different. We've also got it here.
Yeah.
And so the Educator Advantage is a program where we can sign up with school districts, serving them where their employees, who maybe they're serving as paraprofessionals right now, but want to be able to become a certified teacher. Maybe they're substitute teachers. They can get into our programs, our teacher education programs, at a discounted tuition and have a seamless path towards taking courses and getting that teacher certification. So that's one where we're really meeting the workforce needs of the state. Another one is where we're engaged with our healthcare partners. And so we've had recent meetings with Mercy Healthcare, with St. Francis, on where we can put together programs similarly so that their employees who have some college but no degree can get back to school, get that education. A lot of times we're hearing that they need to have some problem-solving skills, which isn't necessarily in an exact degree. It's in some general ones that allow students to find their way to bring in transfer credits and get a seamless path towards completing their degree also. I think of a meeting we just had with Magnum in Sykeston that I had mentioned earlier, where they've got 700 employees that are doing a variety of things on their lines, in their management spheres. And how do we make sure that those individuals have the skills to be able to troubleshoot, to be able to make sure that lines don't shut down, to problem solve? Because when things go offline, it has an impact on service and productivity and can have a long time outage as well too. And so we're working with a number of companies. There's more to come also that over the summer that we think we'll be able to highlight and share, where we're trying to connect with the employment industry and say, where can we provide an education for you?
Let me ask you a question that I'm curious about.
Sure.
So the enrollment cliff and all the challenges, does it concern you, or do you feel like there's a plan to get ahead of all of these changes coming down the line? What's your thoughts on it?
Sure. So I think we have a number of strategies in place now. And what we'll see is as the institution develops its strategic plan, we're going to follow that from an enrollment perspective with an enrollment management plan. And that'll be a comprehensive list of strategies that line up with our strategic plan, where we can say really for the next 3 years, these are the things we're going to roll out. And so the strategic plan is usually the guiding force for the university, and then we tie into that. But we've got the short-term pieces. Once that strategic plan is in place, we're going to develop the longer-term pieces.
And I guess small outlying things on the plan can always be tweaked and adjusted. If you see that something that you've implemented is like, wow, this is really taking off, we need to divert more resources there or beef that. If something's not, maybe you, I mean, there's a period for adjustment maybe on some things.
Absolutely. Some of it's trial and error for sure.
Yeah.
Like we've got to be able to be entrepreneurial, right? We've got to be able to try
Right.
things out.
Yeah.
Not everything's going to work, but those that do, where can we put more resources into those to really accelerate it? And a good example is in territory management. And
Okay.
so the country's a big place. And not to say that we're going to go all over the country and recruit, but there are definitely some pockets that really line up well with our institution that we definitely can start to build some of that out. So we'll try out some new areas to recruit from. We've got some great headway already in because of our River campus, the arts and performing. They go nationally. We also know that our athletic program does. And so where we start to hear back from some of those programs on other interests, it's an opportunity for us to dive into that area to really understand their data, the census reporting, and see where could we actually follow with some of our recruitment as well too. That's just one example of some of the areas to try.
All right, so we've got about a minute. So before we go, what would you say to parents, potential students that are watching this program, and why SEMO? Why Southeast?
Sure. It's the same thing we told them this past week when we were at our new student step-up program, which was orientation, and our Show Me Day on Saturday. We had over 300 individual families sign up for Saturday, it was just an exciting day.
That's great.
And so why SEMO? One, it's because we're committed to making sure that students are going to be successful. We have significant support to be able to get them through the college degree program, and we're zeroed in on making sure that that happens. The second, our programs lead to careers, and they're all tied towards workforce needs. And so the students are going to graduate, they're going to have jobs, they're going to have opportunities. The third, we're just affordable. And you can really get just an amazing experience, amazing education at an amazing price as well too.
Great. Dr. Schultheis, so good to visit with you. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Focus on Southeast is a collaboration of KRCU Public Radio and the Department of Mass Media here at Southeast Missouri State University. And just a reminder that you can find past episodes of this program at krcu.org and on the station's YouTube channel. From the Russ Center for Media, I'm Dan Woods. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to tune in next time when we focus on Southeast.